do. And this is what it looked like about 100 years ago. It's called the Duwamish River. Actually, raise your hand if you've ever been there, or some people. Okay, cool. This is actually the Black River, but it connects to the Duwamish. There was a time where you could canoe from Alki Point to Lake Washington up the Duwamish. But those times changed. So basically, the Duwamish River is a Superfund site, and I got really curious about the legacy of toxic contamination in this area, and the EPA cleanup plan. It took many, many decades to get to a cleanup plan, and I was like, all right, let's see what it is. And I got very lost very quickly trying to learn about the toxicity of the river and the watershed. So we made Hey Duwamish, and I'm going to give you a little tour. Some of you might have seen some of this before. So basically, some of the changes that we've made since last time, we've spent a lot of time adding data. So we have all these different layers. But one thing I realized is that people don't really like toggling layers, and it's a pain to kind of read them and figure out what they are. So we're trying to now do stories. So I added a few stories today. So if you want to learn about community priorities, you can just toggle and it'll take you right there, and you can go through different things right on the map. And if you want to report something, you can still do that. So we have different ways of reporting, and each category on the form can correspond to different needs. So if you want to report air pollution, there's going to be different checkboxes as far as what you're experiencing with that air quality. And so we'd like to come up with different categories and a different framework for environmental health that involves different types of environmental exposure, and ideally these would go to different agencies responsible for them. So the Department of Health does fish advisories, and so if you want to report something around that, that goes to the Department of Health, or if you want to do drainage issues, that's the Seattle Public Utilities, for example, will do that. So different departments ideally want to forward these reports to different places. Here's the cleanup plan itself, if you're interested. You can see where they're dredging and where they're capping. It's going to start, I think, in about 5 years, so we're still ahead of schedule, but it's cool that you can click around and see different improvement sites from SDOT and things like that. And to show you another interesting story, we can change the base map, and so we're working now with vector tiles from Mapbox, so people who are designers, you can design really cool base maps using OpenStreetMap data. We have satellite, we have the blueprint one I was just playing with today. And this, what you're looking at is, right now, raw sewage is overflowing into Puget Sound as we speak. This is live data from King County. This one, if it's orange, it's the last 48 hours. So when it rains, basically we have this problem because our sewer system is pretty dated. We have combined sewer overflows, so the drainage from stormwater combines with sewer treatment, and if it rains too hard, too quickly, they just dump it all into the Puget Sound without treating it. So that's a bad thing, and they're working on that. There's a 700 million gallons goal target by 2030 to manage that, but for now we can just check that out as you see fit, and then we're working on getting some fines and permitting data up here. Eventually we'll get to that. Yeah, so we'd love to have designers kind of help us figure out, and here's the old river that you can see too, which is really interesting. If you're unfamiliar with the history of Seattle, this is where the Duwamish tribe has lived for about 10,000 years along the banks of the river, and it's really interesting to compare over satellite. If you ever get a chance, all this stuff is filled in, Harbor Island and most of where we're standing. Probably all of where we're standing. And anyhow, we would love to have designers help us with stories, and content providers helping us with stories. And we're working on an editor too, so different stakeholder groups can just edit data directly from the map. And we want to build a comprehensive tool, and it's all open source, so you can work on other mapping projects using the same code if you're interested. Let us know.
What's it written?
What's that?
What's it written?
Right now it's Python, Django framework, and Backbone. Yeah. Yeah, and we have some ideas around changing the front end framework, and definitely talk to Luke more about that. And We have an API with all the data, so we'd like to work with different technologies and serve the data in different places as appropriate. So.
And changing the front end to what?
Oh no, we're just working on it. We can talk later.
Yeah.
About.
But yeah, if you have ideas about that, definitely check out the source code and talk to us.